Hello, students. Welcome to World Food Habits and Sustainability. This is Professor Reena Randir, and I'll be your instructor. So this short recording is introduction to the course and your first lecture. So the course is divided into 5 modules. Each module is about 3 weeks. In module 1, we'll talk about the history of food, food science, human nutrition, and sustainability. And in module 2, it's food preservation and processing, and also food safety and security. In module 3, it's evolution of eating habits, and also the food exchange that happened, the old and new world foods. Module 4 will cover sustainable agriculture, climate change and sustainability. Module 5 is biotechnology, genetically modified crops, and we'll discuss the future of foods. So here is the healthy eating plate set by USDA. Everybody eats. Everybody has food habits. So when you say food habits, even though we just eat for nourishment, we eat for nutrition. But eating is a huge part of humanity. So when you say eating habits, it refers to why we eat, how we eat, what we eat, when we eat, how we prepare our food, store our food, use our food, what is our relationship with food, are we wasting food? There are so many factors that control your eating habits. Your family, your culture, religion, economic, environmental, politics. There's so many factors. But in the end, eating should be nourishment that protects our health and the environment. Some of the main things that we should keep in mind as we travel through this course is that the agricultural, the food system is responsible for 25% to 30% of the green gas emissions. So hence, we need to drastically change our attitude and practices in the food system if we are going to keep the global warming limit to 1.5%, because currently the carbon footprint of humans is so high that you would need at least 2 Earths, 1.7 Earths to meet our needs by 2050. So here is module 1 in pictures, a little bit about the history of food, human nourishment. So what is food made up of and how much of it do we need? How to eat sustainably would be module 1. In module 2 is all the fun stuff as to how we can preserve food. This plays a huge role in reducing carbon footprint. How we process food, how to food safety, and also food security are some of the things we'll be discussing here. This is also a very fun module where you'll be talking about human evolution and also plant evolution, biomes. You can only eat what is available. So all these 3 concepts will help us to understand the food system. Module 4 and 5 are heavily connected to sustainability and climate action. So there's this huge relationship between energy crisis and the food crisis that we are currently seeing in the world. And sustainability will play a huge role in addressing this. So we'll talk about practices in sustainable agriculture, hydroponics, biofuels, And the last module will talk about the promise of food biotechnology. It has already proved to be one of the most powerful, innovative tools to feed the world. The world population is going to burst by 2050. So we have to produce food in a sustainable way. So we'll talk about future of food, of the food industry. So some of the things that we will address in this course is our current food system ready to feed the future world population? You can see how the world population is just like exponential growth since the 1800s. Can the food system keep up with this? Would everybody in the world be fed and poverty free as the United Nations Sustainable Goals projects? Will there be equitable benefits? Will we be able to reduce the greenhouse emissions from the food system? So these are some of the things we need to think about. And here is like, it's surprising that like there's so many people in the world who live in poverty and hunger. So it's a global hunger crisis, which kind of reduced, and then it's worse again after the pandemic. There are so many malnourished children. So how are we going to address this? One part of the world, there is undernutrition and poverty and hunger. And then in other parts of the world, like developed countries, there's overnutrition, over calorie intake, obesity, and diseases linked to that. So there's this uneven distribution of calories in the world. So by the end of the course, hopefully you'll understand the importance of what we eat matters to our health and also to the environment. In lecture 1, we are going to briefly cover the important points of food science. Very brief history of the world eating habits. And food science is multifaceted. So we'll try and understand it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. We'll understand some of the main facets of food science, what this farm to table concept is, and of course, like we'll end the lecture with the importance of sustainability. So here is a depiction of a brief history of food. So millions of years ago, when humans evolved, when Homo erectus, discovered fire. So it all started with cooking. And there's lots of suggestions to show that the discovery of fire by humans kind of changed humanity. It changed the brain to gut ratio that we'll study later. So Homo erectus, fire, and then Homo sapiens discovered cooking. And then first we went from hunters and gatherers to agriculture. And now, we wait for Grubhub. So look at the advancement. So we are going to study more of this as the semester progresses. What is food science? Food science is multifaceted. Here, it's grounded in biology, in chemistry, in physics, and engineering. We use all the STEM subjects to study the nature of foods. STEM means science, technology, engineering, and math. We'll study the nature of food, what causes the deterioration, and how to preserve and process it. When we apply all this knowledge, it's called food technology. So food technology is the application of food science in food processing, preservation, distribution, and evaluation. So it's a very complex science, but very interesting. Food systems are very, very complex. food is complex too. Apart from nourishment, there's a psychological angle to it. And also there's so many steps, in the way food is made, distributed, processed. So even before it comes to the table, there are so many things. So here, look at all the different components of food in nutrition. And here's so much that can happen in processing, like drying and freezing, dehydration, pasteurization. So what does food technology involve? Selecting the best foods, preserving it, processing it, packaging it, distributing. So now the modern thinking is, of course, in the last 30 years, it's not only about preserving the food, but also thinking about nature and not polluting the environment when we do all these innovation in food. So food chemistry talks about what food is made up of, the macromolecules of food like carbohydrate, proteins, and fats, the vitamins, phytonutrients, and so forth. We need we need macronutrients and micronutrients, all for human health. Food science also covers both the physical and chemical properties of food, because we eat with our eyes first, right? So colors matter, colloidal properties, freezing point, vapor. So think about, our jams and jellies and the different physical structure of food. Food microbiology will deal with microbes. There's both good microbes and bad microbes. Good microbes can be used for fermenting and preserving food, for bread and wine and so forth. But it can also, the wrong ones, the bad ones, can cause food poisoning and illness. So food microbiology is a study of all the microbes that influence food. Food safety is another important facet. Like in the news, we always see food recalls, right? So food can be contaminated with chemicals or microbes or any foreign bodies. So there are many offices, quality and safety control offices, that will monitor the food supply. Food processing is the technology that is used for preserving food, like pasteurization, drying, freezing, canning, etc. So this is to increase the shelf life of food, because fresh food is perishable. Like meat can spoil in just a few hours. One main concept that we should keep in mind is the farm to table journey. So here we often see the sign, advertised in farmers market and all that, because consuming local produce reduces the carbon footprint. So if you imported food, right? So there's a lot of carbon emissions before it comes to the table. So just being aware of this concept and trying to eat local is very good for the environment. And also it's very fresh, because nutrients can be lost during elaborate travel when food is imported. And I would like to end this mini lecture with food sustainability. So what is sustainability? Sustainability means it should be it doesn't matter what you're doing. Sustainability is a word that can be used in every facet of life, every action that we can take. So it should be ecologically responsive. That means whatever it is that we are doing should be gentle on the environment with low carbon footprint. It should be fair and accessible, equity and equality. And there shouldn't be any waste. So it's good for both the environment and the people and the economy. So it's called as the 3 pillars of sustainability. So when you study the food supply, we should make every step of the food supply is sustainable. Sustainable in production, sustainable in processing and distribution, and sustainable in consumption. And I hope that was enjoyable and helpful. And kindly read the reading assigned for this chapter.